I'm Nick Hughes, and this is Founders Live Conversations.
Ciara Pressler.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm well, thanks.
Welcome to Founders Live Conversations.
I'm so excited.
We've been trying to do this for a while.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to sit down with you. We've kind of gone back and forth. You know, I've been down in Portland a couple times, but now we're able to get in front of the camera. Definitely want to touch on what you're doing, how you're impacting the community here in Portland.
Yeah.
But let's start off with your background. How did you get here? Where did you grow up? Where did you live? What did you study?
Yeah, well, I moved around a lot as a kid. I grew up in California, Montana, and Oregon. And went to school in Seattle, studied communication and music.
And that was Seattle
Pacific University.
Yeah.
And then right after school, I moved to New York to be an actor. I did that thing.
How did that go?
Oh, it was an adventure. That is a whole other chapter, right? If you want to read about it, there's a book. My first book, Exit Stage Right, is about the life of a performer and the career, and when you get to that decision point of, am I going to keep going with this or do I want to switch careers? So
amazing.
Yeah.
And I want to get to that because
Yeah.
I do think like there's some strong correlations with
Yeah.
entrepreneurship. But what drew you to acting?
So it was like where I found my place in, junior high and high school, music and theater. I loved the creative process. We had a lot of leverage to create our own work. And I really just loved being able to express myself through writing and through performing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so you were in New York. Acting really didn't turn out. What was the
Hey, I didn't say that. It turned out. I just got tired of it. No, I did a lot of theater. I did everything wrong. I did a lot of things right. A lot of my professional work was in improv and comedy and thinking on my feet, but I didn't like the instability of you never know what your next gig is going to be.
Right.
And I realized, even if I was a movie star, you still don't know what your next job's going to be and how great and I had so many different interests. I didn't feel like that was where I needed to land.
Right.
Yeah.
Kind of sounds like entrepreneurship. So where did that flop over into creating, companies and being an entrepreneur?
Yeah. Well, I never meant to be an entrepreneur. That's the difference, right? I grew up in an entrepreneurial household. My dad has had lots of different companies. My mother is entrepreneurial, and I knew what that lifestyle was like, a lot of ups and downs, roller coaster, so I never romanticized it. And here I am. But I went into marketing, so I went to the other side of the creative field and helped up-and-coming artists, actors, fashion designers, artists, musicians, get more exposure and learn how to put some business behind their talent. So I became really passionate about teaching business skills to creative professionals.
Interesting. And what did you find that they were struggling with the most? Because you have these people that are massively talented.
Yes.
Yet a lot of times they struggle to bring their message and reach the target market.
Exactly.
So what did you do to help them?
So it's exactly what you said. You go to get a BFA or an MFA and you're totally trained in your craft. You spend all your time on the product, but not necessarily on the business of running a business of your product. So in school, you might get to sing every role or act every part, but that's not how it's going to work to get some ground in the business. You really have to be known for something and have a really clear brand. Of course, we weren't using words like brand back then around that, but that was where everything was moving. And so it was about applying those marketing and business skills to being an artist without it being gross, right?
Right. Well, because a lot of times they think that's dumbing down their product. They feel like people should just buy the CD or buy my art or whatever the case may be. But you help them understand no matter what it is, if you're an artist, if you're a musician, or you're an entrepreneur, you have to figure out how to market your product. And I want to get into that real quick, which is what insights did you bring to them, or just even holistically, from marketing? If you have a product, you think you've built something that everyone should use, but no one's discovered you.
Yeah.
What are 2 or 3 things that you would bring to an entrepreneur that could help them distribute their product and get it into the hands of their target market?
That's a big question. I mean, we're in a really cluttered era, right? There's information everywhere. There's so many options in every market. So having a strong brand and a strong point of view is vital. The way that relates back to artists is that I wasn't doing the business training for them. I was marketing the companies that were doing that, right? So it was cutting through the clutter. You're in a market with oversupply for the demand. It's the same thing now with startups.
Yeah. All right. So what you're doing now, I mean, you've written books, you have what would you call it, a collective, or pregame. So let's talk about pregame, and then we'll talk about your book and some advice that you have to entrepreneurs.
Sure.
Yeah.
So pregame is like a gym for your goals. It's a place, an in-person place, not virtual, where people can go and get good, solid business advice from experts who know what they're doing. There's been an explosion in co-working. Everybody has an idea. Everybody has a place to go now, but they don't necessarily have solid advice on the where or on the how part of it.
And are you curating these mentors or advisors and people that are helping the entrepreneurs? You're curating that expert list to then offer to your membership?
Yeah, something I noticed when I was advising entrepreneurs one-on-one is that people don't comparison shop. They don't have time, or they don't realize they have the power to do that. And that was something that was an issue with artists as well. You just go to the first person you learn about, and that's not always the best, right?
Yeah.
Or the person with the best sales pitch or the best website. Not necessarily the best for your project, right? So we either don't have time, or we don't know which questions to ask. Or we don't have the money. Like, a really good consultant is expensive. And if you have a limited budget when you're starting up a business, you should not be pouring it all into like a $5,000 a month consultant if your whole budget is $10,000, right? So I wanted to create a scalable way to get good advice from people who were practicing and who knew what they were talking about.
And so, what do you tell founders? There's mentor whiplash is like a huge thing, or advisor whiplash, right? What that means is you go and talk to advisor A, and they say, go do this. You then, next day or next week, you talk to the next advisor, and they say the exact opposite. What advice do you have when founders would just be hearing random things from random people? Maybe it's not the best advice, or someone has not been curated to the point. How would a founder handle that when they're just hearing things all over the place?
You have to know who to ask, right? So pick your advisors wisely. Pick people who have experience in a similar situation, who've had the success that you want, and define what success means to you, right? Like, success might mean revenue, but it also might mean lifestyle. It might mean personality. It might be the experience and the impact you're having with your business.
Right. And okay, so if I was going to become a member of Pregame, what would I experience? What is available to me? You mentioned classes. When we were talking previously, what do you have available to members, and how can they engage?
Yeah. So we start with a one-on-one kickoff session where I get a full assessment on your past, present, and future, and we can figure out what you need to do, where you need to go, and it's really up to you, right? This is about you doing the execution. That's why I can keep the prices really low, is I'm not holding your hand through the whole thing. So we determine what your goals are going to be, and so you really have to listen to your own gut and instinct on what's going to be right for your business. After that, we put you in a home team, so you have some accountability around what you say you're going to do, and we meet every single week so that you have to say, in person, did you get that done? If not, why not?
That's got to be really effective.
It's so effective because you write it down and you tell someone out loud, and you show up next week and you have to report on it.
So if someone's not in Portland, they're listening or watching maybe across the world, how can they apply that principle? Because I think that principle is a very success trait, which is create an accountability team and have them keep you accountable. So how would you suggest someone does that if they're not able to be a member at Pregame?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely have advice on how to do that on pregamemagazine.com. We're always coming out with new articles on how to be successful, but you can grab somebody to be an accountability partner. So that's what I do when I go to different cities and do my New Year's goal setting events. People will match up with somebody they don't know well, right? That's key, because when you have a friend who already knows your stories and will hear all your excuses, sometimes they won't hold you accountable. They'll let you go. So if it's somebody you don't know well, sometimes you want to look good and you actually show up, you keep those appointments, and you do what you say you're going to do.
You just mentioned that you do New Year's goal setting.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, that's how it all started. 7 years ago, I got some friends together for brunch on New Year's Eve day, and I said, you know what, we're not going to vent, we're not going to gossip, we're going to set our New Year's resolutions together. And so we did it, we had a blast, and we achieved what we said we were going to do. So I did it again the next year, made worksheets.
Now we're going to write it down.
Yep. And then I put the worksheets for download on my website, and it kept getting bigger. And so by the 4th year, I published a book out of the worksheets that brought together all the best practices of successful people I know. And now we're in our 7th year. We've had goal brunches in New York, LA, Portland, and Seattle.
That's amazing. That's so cool. What's the book called?
Game Plan.
Game Plan.
Yeah.
And briefly walk us through, like, what do you touch on in terms of
Absolutely.
how do you structure this game plan?
Yeah, so it all starts with best practices for success. There are no formulas, there's no overnight success. You have to commit for the long term. So first it's about figuring out which goals you really want, that you're willing to commit to, that are going to get you out of bed in the morning and are going to keep you going on the really hard days.
Yeah.
And then breaking them down into individual actions so you maintain your momentum, and breaking down your actions, overcoming your obstacles, which is huge, and finding time to celebrate.
That's an important one.
Yeah, we forget that one.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at it.
What's interesting is I adopted this recently in the last couple of years, which is I actually choose a word. And this really helped me. Choosing a word to focus on, not a resolution.
Yeah.
To me, it's almost a spiritual focus, which is, this year it's actually growth.
Yeah.
And it's personal growth and organizational growth. And so when I meditate, when I look at my monthly and quarterly goals, it's around that word of growth. And I found it very helpful to check in with that word. I meditate on it, and I actually like almost own it. What else would you suggest someone that is like, I know it's not New Year's Day, but we're still early in the year.
Any day can be New Year's Day.
Any day can be New Year's Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, how do they get into this? Like, what's the first step?
Well, the first step is realizing that you are not where you want to be and you need to be somewhere else, right? So I do the same thing. I have a theme every year at New Year's. I do it in my personal life on November 1st, which is my real birthday. I do it spiritually on another date, that feels like another birthday. So, I'll set business goals on the calendar year, personal goals on my birthday, spiritual goals on another day. And so having that mantra and that sort of organizing principle with a whole year ahead of you is great, because then you can truly mature in the process.
What happens if you're not meeting your goals? How does someone course correct or not feel like terrible?
Yeah,
How
just
do you
give up.
Just give up.
No.
You're done.
Yeah, well, first step is, did you really want this in the first place? Because if you pick a goal that you don't want, I truly believe that you will sabotage yourself.
Yeah.
So you have to take a step back and decide, like, is this really meaningful to me? Is this really something I want to go after? And if it is, then you have to step back and say, like, which part of the process is wrong? In the back of Game Plan, my book, I have 7 steps of success principles of, like, if something's not working, it's definitely hiding in one of these 7 categories.
How did you discover those?
Paying attention. I'm an overachiever, recovering overachiever. I love, setting goals, accomplishing goals. I've done a lot of projects in my life, from books to running marathons to producing shows and films. But I also pay attention to other people who are successful and try to figure out what are the factors that are common between all these different people. So I consider myself a success investigator. I always ask them about the hard times, because often we gloss over the hard parts, and I want to know about how people got through those really challenging obstacles.
It's a mess.
We don't talk about it.
No.
And here's the thing. If you're networking, that is not the time to talk about it.
No.
That is not the time to start crying because you're having a bad day. So pregame comes from the name. This is where you go and prep. This is where you go and work that out, iron those wrinkles out, so that you can show up as your best if you're going to pitch your business or yourself.
So how do you craft that culture in your community of authenticity, openness, being able to cry if you need to, share that your numbers aren't as good as you spreadsheet says they are and what TechCrunch would maybe write about?
Yeah.
How do you craft that culture?
So it starts with picking people who are in it for the right reasons. I would say something that every pregame member has in common is that we're really, we have a lot of integrity. We're purpose driven. It's not just about building something to flip it. We want to build something meaningful that's in harmony with who we are. little things like sitting in a circle rather than like classroom style, keeping your phones off the table, super hard, but some days I have to encourage everybody to put them away.
Yeah.
Keeping things confidential. It's a really collaborative community, and never acting like I have all the answers. It's really hard, but every day I have to admit, like, I don't know the answer to that question, but I know somebody who can help you.
Those, 3 words, I don't know,
Yeah.
are amazing, and I've been using those more often now because I'm in a place now where, I'm coming up with things I don't know. I don't know the answer. Let's go figure it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, being able to just say, look, I don't know, or we messed up, or we're gonna, we didn't hit our goals, but here's what we're gonna do next time. Just being able to be open. That's one of the big things with Founders Live. Is one of our core values is respectful authenticity.
I love that.
And I speak about it every event that we're at, and we have a video now that talks about it, and really just putting in the community, just being respectful in your authentic self, but more importantly, respecting that individual as being authentic to their self.
But there's a line, right? Like, just telling it like it is versus being authentic. It's about respecting the other person, that their feelings and what they're going through
Exactly.
is just as important.
That's why I didn't just say be authentic.
Yeah.
Or be open and just
Yeah.
say what's on your mind, because that could be hurtful.
Yeah.
And so when you have a young or early founder comes to you with maybe it's like, hey, I've got this idea, I think I want to start something. What would you advise them to, what's like the step 1 or 2 that they should take if they like are just early in their path? They actually haven't even created the company, they just have the idea, I think this could be a good thing, what do I do?
It depends on the market, honestly. Certain sectors you really need some deep experience, or you need to be paired up with people who have deep experience. I have a member who's doing a startup in the visual arts world. You gotta know how that world works. You can't just walk in and and know what's going on, right? You have to have some deep experience. So most people who have a great idea, they're specialists in the content or in the product. Now it's about, do you need help with brand? Do you need help with revenue strategy? How much is it actually going to cost to do that? And I really encourage people to scale back and test their ideas somehow. People don't want to hear that. They want to just go big, right away, but you have to have customers, you have to have users.
Well, and that's what I tell people is the test, and actually enjoy that, be investigative, and, just for as cheap as possible, as quick as possible, put out a test a week or a test a day.
It's hard.
And it's hard because people have these big visions. They're like, we're going to create this, we're going to do that. Well, for $10, go test it, have criteria, and if it's successful, now you can take another step, which is maybe creating a prototype or whatever, right? And so I suggest people to test.
Yeah, and be patient enough so it can grow organically, right? Like, you might have a business model that's all about getting funding and getting users, but you might also just want to be revenue positive, like profit positive, I should say. You can make money and pay your bills and pay yourself. Like, that is a valid business model. It's my business model.
Right. Profit, weird.
Yeah.
So, along with that question, clearly, there's a lot of efforts with female founders now. And what thoughts do you have on that? There's obviously a lot going on right now. You being a female founder and obviously mentoring a lot. What are you seeing right now, and how would you describe like the movement? Because there is a movement going on.
I don't know if I'm qualified to characterize the movement. I would just say that people are realizing that, if they didn't realize it before, they somehow missed the memo that women founders are equally, if not better, suited to create better companies. Women, as a trend, speaking in like vast generalities, are more collaborative. We're more conservative. We're going to be a little more careful with that money we've been given by investors, and so it's a sounder investment sometimes to go with women-led companies, and there are stats to back that up. So, looking at what is going to be hitting in the next few years, not just by women founders, but founders from cities that we don't associate with startups, founders from populations that we don't associate with startup culture. man, if investors are not looking everywhere and under every rock for the next big idea, they are missing the boat.
I would agree.
Yeah.
That's why, with Founders Live, we're going to all these, we say second, third, and fourth tiers markets.
Love it. Yeah.
Huge. And, we're opening up in Africa and other countries. And so we believe that entrepreneurship has no borders.
Yeah.
I believe it has nothing to do with any looks or skin color or anything. And I also hope investors start to realize that other markets and other people that look different can clearly be successful, and they're actually a really good bet. It's a really good investment.
Yeah, and it's all about listening. I was talking to some friends last weekend about this, and one guy was at a startup, and he didn't understand why he had to worry about saying things this way or that way, or being careful about how he interacted with other people. And I said, man, the only answer you have to give is, I never thought about it that way. Let me think about it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times in our environments, we all live in different bubbles. We have never had to think about it a different way. But that's what makes entrepreneurship great. That's what makes us creative, is being able to think of things from different angles. So see that as an opportunity to expand your mind rather than to limit it.
I love how you said that. Another thing that we do, for the pitch events, we try to make, there's 5 presenters, so can't be equal, but it's either 2 or 3 females on stage. And that is like a mandate.
Yeah.
Obviously, sometimes it just works out that it's not. But no matter what city, make sure you have female founders on stage, and make sure you have diverse founders. That's another thing, right? And I think what you just said was, I've never seen it that way. I've never thought about it that way. That's what white males are in this industry. We're mostly good people. Yeah. And what we haven't done is actually just thought about it.
Yeah.
And so I'm so glad that you said that. And I hope people that are listening and watching start to say, maybe I should just think about it that way.
This is why my business isn't for women. My brand of equality is to, have things be uneven in ways we're not used to it sometimes, and be unapologetic about it. So in a given month at Pregame, 80% of our speakers might be female. Doesn't mean we're for women. It just means that we're not used to that. Right. Why aren't we used to that, right? And being able to go out and see all different kinds of representation is huge.
So one more question. Yeah. One more question. If you were not building Pregame, and maybe if you didn't even move back to Portland, what would you be doing right now?
Wait, if we rewound the clock or if we fast forward?
It's your perspective.
All right. So if I weren't in Portland, I would be at someplace much sunnier and hotter. And if I were to leave tomorrow and go somewhere, I would go to Africa.
Would you?
Yes.
Which country?
Tanzania. There's giraffes there and elephants.
Wow. We're going there soon.
Yeah.
So at some point, a Founders Live event, yes, we will have one. All right.
Absolutely.
Ciara, this was great. Thank you for your time, and hope to see you again soon.